Hey, okay, so this is kind of gonna be weird filming because I just kind of just spur of the moment. I wasn't planning on filming today, but earlier this morning, I don't know if anyone else has this, but my homepage is a wrestling dirt sheet. 'Cause I'm lame. It's actually pretty helpful when I do around the ring, but my homepage is a wrestling dirt sheet, and pretty much like the front cover story was today being the 7-year anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death. And I kind of should have filmed a little thing about talking about Eddie and such, just kind of remembering him. I just grew up being a huge Eddie Guerrero fan. Just always, I probably should point this out. I have I don't know, you can't see it, probably not, but I have maybe, can you see that? There are two Eddie Guerrero posters. Can you see that? And one's in like WCW, or no, they're both in WCW, and one still has this spelling of EDDY before he had the IE for WWE. I'm lame, but like I've just always been a fan of his, and I remember growing up on him and just being a huge fan of his. I just always loved his personality. It was so like awesome, and I think people have said this before, but he could make you feel like you hated him, but then you loved him within seconds. And I definitely have to agree. Like he was one of the best wrestlers ever. It's was forever. Like he will always be in my top 5. He's just one of my favorites. And I just, oh gosh, I've always been a fan of his, and probably one of my favorite moments is WrestleMania 20 when he wins against Kurt Angle, and what happens with his shoe? His shoe comes off or something. It was like so corny, but like it was so Eddie. And he won the title, and then later that night, or actually earlier in the night, or maybe in the middle, I'm not sure, but I remember his promo with Chris, and I just love it. At the end when Chris won, and the confetti came down, and Eddie came out, and they hugged, and just, that's one of my favorite memories in wrestling, actually. It's just Eddie and Chris together. Now looking back, it's definitely one of my favorites. I always love that moment, and then now it's like crazy looking back, watching WrestleMania 20 and being like, knowing what happens in the future is so crazy. Or it's so weird. Just what has happened in the past 7 years. Yeah. I should remember the day I found out Eddie died. I was 7 years ago. So yeah, I was 11. I was 11 years old. And I remember sitting in the living room playing cards with my mother. And we were probably playing cards for a little while, and then my cousin called, and I don't know if he told my mom, but he's like, I remember her saying he wants to talk to you. And so I took the phone, and I'm like, what? Sorry, but like, and he goes, did you hear about the wrestler who died? And I remember sitting there, I was 11, so I probably didn't understand. I don't know if I knew, like, wrestling was fake yet, or I probably knew, but, like, didn't know, kind of. That makes sense. And I remember thinking, and I think I remember saying this too, but no, wrestler didn't die. I would have known. Wrestler didn't die. I wasn't even a smart back then like I am now. But I just remember saying that he's like turned on channel 6, I believe. I mean, I believe it's channel 6, and they were doing a profile on his death, that he had died. And I just remember being like so kind of, it was just crazy. I don't remember what happened after that, but it was like the first death of something that mattered to me. Like, he wasn't like a family member or a friend or anything, but like, I grew up in wrestling. Wrestling was my outlet. Like, if everything was going wrong in my life, I knew wrestling was there. And, you know, I don't know if anyone else has this experience either, but for me, it's like, wrestling's an outlet for me to just completely lose thought in and just, for everything else going wrong, I have wrestling. Wrestling will never leave, kind of. And I still kind of have that nowadays. It's not like as important because like nowadays, but like back then it was like everything. And it was also the first wrestler's death that I had ever, who I was just a huge fan of, that had died. I was like 4 or 5 when Owen died, so I don't really remember if I even knew or comprehended the fact that he died. But yeah. I remember I think it was like the next night maybe that Raw was. Sometime like the next 2 days or so. Raw was. And I really don't remember a lot about Raw except for 2 things, which is I believe it was Chris's backstage thing talking about Eddie, and then Big Show crying. I will forever remember Big Show crying. That is something that just has always stayed in my brain after all these years, just seeing the Big Show cry. But yeah, I just always loved Eddie. He was just so full of life and just so fun. He was just a great wrestler, and he always had amazing promos, and like you just couldn't wait for him to be on, whether it was talking or just wrestling. He always made the night so much better when he was on. It's really crazy to think that it's been 7 years. Cause like I feel like it's yesterday that I saw him wrestle Rey Mysterio in the ladder match for the custody of Dominic, and it's just so crazy that it's been 7 years. Like, it's crazy that next year is what, 5 or 6 years, 5 I think years for Chris. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I probably oversaid crazy on this thing, but it really is. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share like my own little thing about Eddie on this day of remembrance. So he'll forever be one of my favorites. And I guess I'm gonna end this right now because it's 9 minutes. And I know a lot of people are saying this. Actually, a review. Not a review, but a remembrance column today. And I loved the last line. It's kind of off of his lie, cheat, steal thing. And at the end of the column, he said, Eddie lied, stole, and cheated our hearts. And Yeah. He stole a piece of our heart when he died. Kind of. I got that feeling off, so, Viva la raza. Eddie will always make me smile, because I'm sure I've smiled so much during this, but I don't know. Yeah. Rest in peace, Eddie.